guys, can you hear me? I'm washing some dishes while my kids play with some games here. They've just come back from the grocery store. I'm making tamales, and the tamales are going to be done at 2:40. Okay, I can't forget. I'm going to wash a few dishes with you guys, and then I'm going to scoop. So I'm reading this book right now that was so needed, and I actually got, can you guys hear me okay with my headphones on? Yeah? Cool, thanks. So I'm reading this book, and I got this book, and I originally, I was like, is this going to be a sermon on screen time? Because, I really don't want to hear it. You guys can hear me, right? It's going to be a sermon on screen time because I really don't want to hear it. In our house, we have just a different, we love our family movies, but we also love, doing our independent projects and stuff like that. So I was like, and we love, the kids have educational games. We have good boundaries around the games they have that aren't educational. It's just Minecraft. But when I first got this book, I was kind of turned off by it. Now, this book is called The Anxious Generation. Please let me know if you've read it. And it's written by the same guy who wrote The Coddling of the American Mind. I've also gotten a book recommendation from this book that is called Outrage Machine, which I definitely want to look into, and another one called Paranoid Parenting from 2001 that I definitely want to look into as well. But it was, when I first started listening to it, I was like, I don't know. But basically what this book talks about is this intersection between kids being online more and parents reaching kind of a grand crescendo of paranoia of what will happen if their children aren't under their surveillance all the time. It's a really good book. I'm listening to it on audiobook right now, and I really recommend it. So I never really identified as an anxious parent. And as a lot of you guys know, I'm getting coaching on parenting right now from Bratbusters Parenting. I've shared a lot of the ups and downs of my parenting journey. But this book is changing my life. And not just that, but yesterday I talked with this grandma who's raising all of her grandchildren. We were talking about how different parenting was. And I wanted to share some of that with you guys here today because I know the type of parent that I want to be, and my behavior isn't aligning with that, and I'm determined to turn that ship around because I don't like where that ship is headed. So first of all, if you guys think this conversation is going to be at all around being a naked mom, I'm not fucking discussing that with anybody. If nudity around your children is triggering for you at this point, sorry, but this conversation is going to be way over your head because the paranoia has become so internalized that you can't even think about taking a bath with your kids without freaking the fuck out. So this conversation would not be for you. But yes, so it all started, it started when I read this book, and this book was kind of, oh, sorry, I just cleared your plate, didn't I? This book was kind of doing its work on me, but I was pretty sick 2 days ago, and I was finally please, can I have some water, Mom? Of course you can have some water, my love. So I was putting Tyga to sleep. And I was really sick. I really needed her to go to sleep and get some good rest. And I finally put her to sleep. But when she fell asleep, when I put her down after nursing, she fell asleep on her belly. And she looked so comfortable, and she was really snoozing. She's a baby that startles easily. So we put her in a swaddle and everything like that. She hardly sleeps at all if her swaddle's not on. And it's kind of unwieldy, and there's only kind of, one shape she can be in, or two shapes on her back or on her side. But, she's like this little larva. And she had finally fallen asleep on her belly. And for the first time, she was snoozing without all this snot fucking clanging around in her nose. She was so peaceful. She seemed so happy. But I was like, should I let her sleep on her belly? No, because the internet says it's bad. The internet says she'll die from SIDS if she sleeps on her belly. Do I know people who have lost babies to SIDS? Yeah. Were they all sleeping in cribs? Yeah. Were they all sleeping on their back? Yeah. Did I grow up in a commune? Yeah. Was I surrounded by babies? Yeah. Did we put every single baby to sleep on their belly, patting their back until they passed out? Yeah. So I'm sitting there going, do I flip this baby over or not? If I flip this baby over, I'm going to wake her up, and then, she's going to be up. But can I let her sleep on her belly without this fear? And where did this fear come from? When did I suddenly start being afraid of this happening. Well, I lost that fight, like hardcore. I flipped my baby over. I woke her up on a day that I was sick and that she was sick. She didn't go to sleep for way longer. And I was like, dude, this is one trackable moment I can think of in my life where I wasn't thinking with my heart, I was thinking with my head. And it was costing me something in the parenting department. And I was wondering in how many other places I might be experiencing this. I was reading a jewelry blog the other day. They had come up for sale Carl Jung's turquoise ring that he got from the Navajo Nation. And apparently when Carl Jung met the Navajo, they said, look at the white man. Their face is always scrunched up. They're always looking angry. They're always wanting something. They're thinking with their head. There's always a plan. There's always something they want to do, somewhere they want to go, something they want to take. And Carl Jung said, well, where do natives think from? And the natives said, from here, from our heart, of course. When you're thinking from your head, it's all planned. What could go wrong? What about this? What about that? The heart doesn't think. It just responds to life. It just acts. There's no thinking necessary. You're in the moment. You move now. This is what it is now. And if something is wrong, you feel it. You feel that there's something wrong. You don't think pros, cons, what about this? What about that? This whole internal argument. So I was meeting with I met this grandma the other day because this lady drives right up on the park lawn. Children, please. Drives right up on the lawn of the park. And I said, whoa, dude, good thing I wasn't a bitch her. Because I was like, who the fuck is this psycho, parking the fucking parking lot. But she pulls right up onto the lawn. And I said, wow, I've never seen anybody ever pull up there before. And she goes, yeah, I do this all the time. That way I can hear the kids if they wake up. Turns out she's a grandma. She's raising she had in her car a 3-year-old. Can you guys hear my earrings too loud? Sorry. She has a 3-year-old, a 3-month-old, and a 9-month-old in her vehicle. She's raising her grandchildren. And I'm telling her this story. I was like, dude, my heart was telling me it was fine, but my head couldn't get over this fear that my children were literally going to die if I let them sleep in the way that's comfortable to them. And I want to know if this same type of fear has infiltrated all other areas of my life, because I wasn't born with this fear. I wasn't raised with this fear. I got this fear. And now this fear that someone else gave me is controlling not just my life, but my children's life. Where is this voice in my head coming from? Is it useful? And do I want to continue to listen to it or not? Now, I know exactly the moment. When I felt like I couldn't trust my own voice. So Reiner was a baby. He was getting into the stage where he really wanted to touch hot things, and I didn't feel comfortable letting him learn by touching the hot things. So I had a policy back then that I was only going to take advice from people whose children I actually really liked. When I called the two separate families that had strong family ties, super tight-knit family, respectful, articulate, well-behaved, strong children that were fun to be around, that went with their parents everywhere they went. No nannies, no whining, no they're crying in the corner and we're pretending like they're not crying in the corner because they got to get all their feelings out. None of that. But family dynamics that I admired, parents that were strong, children that were strong. I asked them what to do. They said, spank your kids. I tried. It just, every time, and it didn't happen often, my son had hardly had any spankings at all. And when I say any spankings at all, like my son got 3 spankings total over the course of 4 years. And after every single one, I just felt super bad. Like it just didn't, when I looked at it in hindsight, it seemed like there was always a way that I could have gone about it differently. Every single time. And so I was like, now if I had listened to my gut in that situation, what do I do when a baby won't stop reaching for a hot thing? It's hard because I can hardly even hear my gut on it now. But I would probably say, you know what? Sometimes they got to learn from a little burn. And that might just be it. Maybe that's the natural consequence. You won't listen to me about, hey, Selma, won't listen to me about touching a hot thing, that's fine. That's how we're going to learn. That's probably how I would address it now. But back then, that was when I first started listening to other people. Then I felt so bad about listening to other people on corporal punishment. And it was actually 3 families, because I forgot about that woman. All said unanimously corporal punishment. Now, I swung to the complete opposite direction, which was like full-on gentle parenting to the degree that you're here to help your children process their difficult emotions. That every difficult emotion is coming from a deeper, and this is specifically Dr. Becky mentality. Getting into it with your kids, being your kid's therapist. Now, this fucking sucked. And you know why it sucked is because it felt so not intuitive for me and so not intuitive for my partner, but I felt so guilty for how it had been before that I was trying to rectify it. So talk about inconsistency. And that's where I first started to really fear like I was doing it wrong. I've always let my kids run around naked because I'm not going to tell you to put on other people's shame. You're going to wear clothes for the rest of your life. You want to run around naked? Run around naked. We're wild. We're free. We live in New Mexico. It's no problem. As we started traveling around, things started to change. And I was really trying to like parent right. And that's when I started to get into my head because I wasn't listening to myself. I could hear myself very loudly how I wanted to respond to each situation one by one. But I'm going to take these off now so that I'm not jingling in your ear. Myself all the time, but I wasn't listening to myself because I had gotten the idea along the road that whatever was coming up instinctively was rooted in trauma. That however I instinctively wanted to respond could in no way be coming from something healthy, that it was coming from a childhood steeped in trauma. Now, isn't it so funny that I come from a childhood steeped in trauma? My husband has had 1 spanking in his entire life, which was when he walked 2 miles to the store unattended at 4 years old to get himself a cookie from the grocery store without money by sweet talking the lady that worked there. That's my husband. How is it that he and I were both having the same instinctual idea of what consequences would be necessary coming from 2 totally different backgrounds? The same way we have instinctually the same views on education, on childbirth, on the role of the medical complex in our day-to-day life. Like, how is it that we're so aligned on this? But when it came to discipline, I got it into my head that, however, hang on one second. You guys can watch me. I'm going to be navigating this correspondence with my kids who are fighting here right now. I'm going to full on pause. You guys can watch. Hey, kids, what's going on here? Hey. You guys sound really frustrated with one another. What you frustrated by? Is she too loud here?
No, she kept smacking me when I was helping her.
Wiley.
Get over that.
Okay, look.
No, I was doing it and then he wanted me to do it. He wanted to cut my skin and I didn't want him to.
Okay. Well, it sounds to me like you guys want to not be together right now. Listen, the truth is, excuse me, you guys. The truth is between what you're saying and what she's saying. I need you both to pause.
Mom, no.
I'm counting to 5 and we'll be paused.
Mom, no.
I understand you think it's unfair.
No, it's important this. I don't want to die in this.
Oh, if you pause your snake in, you're going to die immediately? When I hear you screaming like that, I hear you saying it's unfair with your sounds. Wiley, hey, you guys were both screaming at each other, and I came here because you're screaming at each other, and now you guys are too busy to solve it.
Yeah.
Do I need to stop this game altogether so you guys will listen to me?
No.
Okay.
No.
Reiner says Wiley was hitting him. Wiley says Reiner was what? Excuse me. Wiley says Reiner was what? Okay, so you guys need to not be sitting together here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm taking you over here, and you're going to be scooted a little bit further away.
I don't want to go over there.
Excuse me, I wasn't talking to you. Hey, It's going to be a 15-minute screen break from this right away. I know you just got home, but you're going to be calm when you talk to me. Now listen to me. Now that we're paused, and you're going to be paused as well. Both of you look at me right now. This means you. Both of you look at me right now. Okay, now that I've got you both looking at me, hello. I don't usually allow you guys to sit right next to each other when you're playing games because you freak out. If you're going to be screaming at each other, we're going to go into separate rooms. Would you guys like to be sitting together? Yes or no? Is thumbs up yes? Okay. Do I need to split you guys far apart from each other, or can you get along here? Okay. My question for you. Oh, can I get on with this hug as well? Can I be in this little hug as well? Open up, you old crocodile. Wake up, you old
I didn't
crocodile.
mean to get my cut hurt.
What is that lovely smell?
Me!
Okay. If you guys are howling at each other again, who's going to go to the bar?
Well, I have to go.
Excuse me. If you guys are howling at each other again, who's going to the bar, Reiner or Wiley?
Both of us.
Both of us to the bar together? If we're howling at each other, no. I'll be right back. Oh, you want me to nurse her? I'm just doing a lesson right now. Okay, there we go. Got some real life conflict resolution there. Got to give my baby some boob. So I was talking to this grandma. Okay, so I veered in the other direction. My husband and I were now in conflict because I was micromanaging his parenting because I said, no. You can't be trusted to respond authentically in the moment because don't you know, if you're ever responding authentically, I'm just doing a live stream about parenting right now because I'm learning so much from my book. I said, don't you know, if you ever respond instinctively, it's trauma informed and you're traumatizing our children and you're doing a horrible job. We cannot be trusted to just do what feels good. And that's when the voice in my head of you're doing it wrong if you're not doing it by this person's book and this person's book and this person's book. This is when this really started to take off for me. My head started to get very loud. And you know what happened? Parenting became really, 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 really hard. I started to understand why all these moms on social media are always complaining about parenting being so hard. Now, the truth is I love to be around my kids, but the truth is I feel like I've got 3 different kids. So this is what I was talking to this grandma at the park yesterday. I said, I feel like it used to be one size fits all information for like all kids. Like you could talk to any mom and they'd say, oh, sleep them on their belly. You could talk to any mom and they'd say, put them on timeout. You talk to any mom and they'd say, feed them this. If they don't like them, make them sit at the table. Now, does one size fits all work? The truth is somewhere in the middle. It used to be one size fits all. And moms weren't complaining about it being so hard. And you could say, okay, well, everybody's fucked up as a result of that. Yeah, you're fucked up. Everybody's always going to be a little fucked up. But you're doing all right. You're doing all right. Now I feel like I'm raising 3 different kids and they each need their own dinners and they each need their own special treatment and they each need their own disciplinary strategy. So I hired a parenting coach. I said, I need one set of rules that I can be consistent with that works. And at this point, I'm going to hire you because I like the way that you do things. I want my husband and I to be on the right page. Or not the right page, but I want us to be on the same page about things. And because I have burnt us out so much, both of us, on parenting strategies, I need a third party to tell us what to do. Because I don't want to micromanage my husband's parenting anymore. But the truth is somewhere in between. Like, what do we stand for? What do we want to stick to? So we were talking about how much more difficult everything has gotten because everybody's just has things that everyone has their own special needs, and trying to keep up with it all has been really difficult. So here I am flipping my baby over, listening to the voice in my head, listening to fears that aren't my own. And I'm so good at disregarding fears that aren't my own in plenty of spaces, including in the space of childbirth. I've never had a single insecurity about free birth. It seemed like the most natural thing in the world to me. Co-sleeping, one of the things that they're, oh, don't do that now. I laugh at that. Oh my God, find somebody else to bore with this bullshit. People ask me, how do you know what to respond to? If it's a comment where there's a teaching or if it's just criticism or trolling. If there's a teaching in it, then I will definitely show some dimension there. If it seems like somebody is open to learning. I'm not going to respond to anybody talking about nudity because there's nothing I can say to somebody that is that locked up, paranoid, and repressed that they are sexualizing every fucking piece of nudity out there and saying, oh my God, you have your clothes off, you must be having sex with whoever is there. That person, for my line of work, is unhelpable. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I could say. It would take you years of deconditioning to even be able to reside in this conversation. I would be arguing with a pig about the quality of an orange. They're not qualified to have this conversation with me. Same with co-sleeping. Good luck with that. Same with breastfeeding around the clock. Good luck trying to discourage me from doing that. But in discipline, things got to be wobbly. Why? Because I didn't really know what to do, so I was looking for advice. I got it, didn't fit. What I should have done is stop taking advice. What I did was take way more advice from the other side, and things started to get really complicated. Then we moved to this neighborhood, and the first thing that I thought was, I'm so happy that we live in such a safe neighborhood so that my son can feel what it's like to go to the park by himself, to explore in the woods by himself, to go to the library by himself. We have this wonderful neighborhood where all eyes are on our kids, and I feel really safe here. So I let my son go to the park by himself. My neighbor comes marching down the lane. Now I know it's a kind of fussy, mercurial neighbor. But he comes down and says, did you know that your son is at the park by himself? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, he told me he was allowed. I said, he is allowed. And he says, well, somebody was about to call the cops on him for being at the playground across the street from his house, mind you, across the street within eyesight. Someone was going to call the cops. Cops come along with CPS. I've dealt with CPS. It was a very positive experience. But after that, I was like, ooh, I was scared. Someone's threatening to call the cops on my kids. I was like, first of all, he's armed with a Nerf gun, so watch out. My son, I'm very proud of him, told this guy off. Don't talk to me. I'm allowed to be here. Take it up with my mom. I said, good boy. But then I got scared. Do they know something that I don't know? Am I being unsafe? So I started reading this book called The Anxious Generation. And it talks about how starting in the 80s, people were shown round-the-clock news. So they would hear more stories of child abusers and rapers and this thing and that thing and all this scary stuff. And they started to become more paranoid. And this just compounded over time with more news. You just think about what it was like seeing round-the-clock news and how many times you might see a chaos mom story versus how many chaos mom stories you read on TikTok in a fucking sitting. And you see in the comments all the time people saying, new anxiety unlocked, new anxiety unlocked, new anxiety unlocked. What if with every new anxiety unlocked, you were seriously inhibiting your ability to parent, seriously inhibiting your ability to hear that inner voice that says, this is right for me. I don't care what book it's in. This is right for me. This feels right. That's what your intuition does. This feels right. It just acts. It responds. It doesn't need a textbook. Somehow we've been conditioned to believe that what comes intuitively is trauma-informed and wrong, that we cannot trust ourselves to raise our own children. I now have a problem with this. I now have a fucking problem with this. So when I read this book about how as it compounded over time, people getting more and more anxious, all of a sudden the iPhone comes in 2010. And the parents are now so afraid of what their children might run into out there that they say, you know what? It's safer for my children in here. How can I keep them entertained in here? Video games and the internet. The average age a child starts watching porn now is 10. 10. The grandma I was talking to used to work in the public school system. I said, what made you leave? She said it was when the 11-year-olds were dealing with STDs. And at first we thought it was coming from abuse, but actually they're all sleeping with each other already by this point. She's like, I want my grandkids to fall in love. I want my grandkids to know what it's like to play in the creek and to go camping. I said, oh my fucking God. I don't have a problem with my children's internet usage right now at 4 and 6 years old, but I see how much my boundaries have expanded since we introduced this to their life 2 years ago. Do I think I'm going to be, if I grew at this rate over the last 2 years with internet usage, can I stay right here until they're 14 years old? Not a chance. No ways. Because if it took me this long to go that far, I can assume that the rate of growth is going to stay the same no matter how much I want to fucking feel about it. My husband and I have always been eye to eye and loving each other and proud of each other. Oh, you think the STDs at 11 are bad? I talked to an elementary school cop the day before who lost his child to SIDS, but it actually wasn't SIDS. He was having seizures and he died when he was just 1.5. Horrible. Cop at an elementary school in Albany. The trend right now is boys gang raping other boys, 11 years old, recording it and putting it on social media. He told me of 3 incidents that happened at that school. I went online to look it up. Nothing on the internet about that. But this guy's the cop there. He told me eye to eye, parent to parent, this is what's going on. And you'll never see it in the news. I said, what in the ever-loving fuck is that? That's crazy. In trying to protect children from interacting with things out there, we say they're safer in here, but the in here has a portal into the internet where they're way more likely to run into sexual predators, where they're way more likely to run into all of these other things that you're trying to protect them from. Think about like if you were 14 years old and an idiot and you start getting messages from a 14-year-old that looks hot and they say, let's meet up. And you have no idea who that is. It's easier than ever on the internet. But here's the thing. Scarcity increases value. So if I'm saying I want less screen time in my child's life, it's going to become more valuable to them and they're going to feel like they're missing something. So what I have to do is add more to my children's life. I have to crowd something out the same way if you were trying to stop eating something, you'd have to start eating something else. We have to crowd out what we don't want so that there's no space for it anymore. But you know what's fucking hard? Going camping with your kids. Yeah, it's life, but harder. Going traveling with your kids. Yeah, it's life, but harder. Taking a whole family screen break at 5 o'clock every day. Yeah, that's fucking hard. We're all squeezing in work wherever we can squeeze in our work. But my husband and I have always been eye to eye about how we want to protect our family. Now, I'm not paranoid. People say, oh my God, if you put your kids on the internet, people are going to jerk off to them. I don't sit around thinking about what people might be jerking off to. Anyone can jerk off to anything. I don't wake up in the morning and think about people jerking off. I think about what I want in my life. But my husband and I have always really bonded over, we'll do whatever it takes to protect our family. But what if the concept of protecting our family looks really different than we thought it did? What if protecting our family looks like taking our family camping? What if protecting our family looks like choosing difficulty many, many, many times? Choosing the hard thing many, many times? What if it looks like to me reducing the amount of time that I can even work? Now, here's something interesting. When I started reading this book there, and it talks a lot about the importance of free play for children. I told my son the next day, like nothing was happening. I said, hey, you're 7 now. I'm going to have you walk up to the library. You're going to return these 2 books. You're going to get me 2 more books. You're going to pick up 2 snacks for me. Go ahead. And because I'm a little bit anxious, I called ahead and told the librarian, I'm learning how to let my son do things by himself. He's up there because he's allowed to be. Thank you very much. My son came back like it was no big deal. But you know what's interesting? There were all of these other things that we were kind of struggling with. Got to brush teeth twice a day. Got to wipe your own butt. We're not doing it for you. He's a bit germophobic, so we thought that, he'd be touching poop if he wiped his butt. All of a sudden, he was just like, yeah, I can do all of this. No problem. I can order by myself at the bubble tea store. He ordered by himself at the bubble tea store to a guy that didn't speak very good English. And not only did my son order all by himself at the bubble tea store, but he ordered something new, not the usual thing that he always gets. He was patient and calm, even though the guy didn't understand him and he had to repeat himself a couple times. He did fucking great. He started the same day picking up Gooey all by himself instead of, okay, let me sit and hold her and be all situated. Now he'll pick her up anytime, any place, walk her around, pat her back, and he does an amazing fucking job of that. This responsibility has served him in a really big way. Was I anxious? Honestly, not really, because I used to feel this way until I took in a bunch of crap. But now I have 7 more years of parenting my son. That's all I got. I hear every single parent saying, okay, well, once your kids are teenagers, they're not going to want to leave their rooms. They're just going to sit on their phone. I had this idea of protecting the kids that's like, if a sexual predator comes at me and my kids in a public space, I'll fucking murder them. But now, to me, protecting my kids is making sure that I don't have a 14-year-old that doesn't leave their room. Because the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. The opposite of addiction isn't, and that is an addiction. The internet, the video, the real fucking addictions. I can't say, don't have this, be sober. I can say, you and I have so many connecting points. Here's things we do together. We camp together. We make art together. We go running together. We hike together. We forge together. We work on projects together. We cook together. At 5 o'clock, we take a family screen break all together. We're together. I'm your person. I'm the rock that you can lean on. I'm fucking here for you. I trust you. Doesn't mean I'm hovering around you all the time. No. But you have so much going on with your life that you don't need that. And I used to think that protection looked like physically protecting my kids from unknown assailants. And now I'm coming to understand that protecting my kids means I'm choosing the hard thing over and over, that I'm choosing to pull us together as a family. I'm never going to be precious about all of us sitting at a table and eating. I'm never going to be precious about us celebrating Christmas or what we do for these fucking Christian holidays. I don't give 2 fucks about that. But what I do care about is how my family breathes and moves together. They're never going to remember anything that they've seen on the computer. They're only going to remember these times, usually by themselves, of playing, of being out, of laughing, of shrieking, of learning new things, even getting into fights with her, whatever. But this is what I'm here to share with them, and I'm going to do anything in my fucking power to make it happen. So I didn't really think of myself as being an anxious parent until I started reading this book and realizing, oh my God, I have traded a play-based childhood for a phone-based childhood because I've taken in too many impressions, and the voice that I'm listening to is no longer my own. People are going to tell me I'm doing wrong no matter what I do. No matter what I do, people are going to tell me that I'm doing it wrong. So you know what? I'm going to do it my fucking way. I'm going to do it my fucking way. And from now on, what feels good from here is what I'm listening to. It'll be wrong in 50% of the textbooks. And you know what? I don't give a fuck. And what your heart tells you to do and what my heart tells me to do doesn't need to be in alignment. If you're on the level, water always finds its own level. Cream always rises to the top. We'll fucking vibe. But if you're not on the level, I'm not going to argue about the quality of oranges with pigs. I'm not doing it. So I've never had a book stop me in my tracks and make me want to change the way that I'm parenting so fucking fast. And I have been around the block when it comes to, wow, baby, I can't tell if this is your diaper that smells like that or the tamales that smell like that. Either way, it's kind of good, bad. I better go check on them. But I'm changing some things around here, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. So I'll have my husband, I'll have my video editor put this on the podcast. But as always, thank you guys so much for being here. And if you're also a parent, like what my husband and I sat down and did as I was absorbing this book, because he's not going to read the same books that I did, but I'm like, what did we say we wanted for our kids before we had kids? What did we say we wanted for our kids when we first had kids? And are we living up to that now? My husband and I both wanted kids that loved nature, that were free, that were creative. And what was the other one? We wanted them to be free, we wanted them to love nature, we wanted them to be creative, and we wanted them to be strong. Are we currently raising kids that love nature, are strong, are creative and free? Creative and free, I would say so. But if they don't want to go inside because they'd rather stay inside, we don't make them. Now I'm gonna. I don't care what anybody says. Are we raising kids that are strong? We can always be stronger, because here's something interesting. They were talking about these different variations of risk that children always gravitate towards when they're left unsupervised. Speed, heights, disappearing like hide and seek. So speed, how fast can we, roll down this hill? Heights, let's go higher than we've ever been before. Disappearing is another one. There are 3 more, but they were talking about how video games include all of these aspects of risk. For example, Fortnite include all of these aspects of risk, but the body doesn't go through any of these aspects of risk. So it's like they feel like they're doing something they're not doing. I've been anti-video games for a long time. Minecraft is the only thing that we've opened up to. But Minecraft has opened up a really big door for us, and I'm not going to be able to hold the door this far ajar for so long. So what we did is everything happens incrementally. I know that when I swing in and say, we're doing this, that it's miserable for everybody, and then we veer in the opposite direction. But we started a few weeks ago with a solid screen time timer on the iPad. They just can't get more screen time than that, and that's just what it is, because I can withstand the whining because I know what I want. This week we're really focusing on crowding out, warming up to the idea that adventures are going to be hard. Yes, of course, it'll be much easier to have no plan and veg out every single weekend, but now we're going to be doing hard things because that's what we agreed on. Outdoor play each and every day, no matter what, and it's okay for kids to be bored. It's all very easy to talk about, but implementing it is something else. And if my baby wants to sleep on her belly, she'll sleep on her fucking belly. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.